Right, 7 July 2024. And today I'll be going live with our TikTok audience, our YouTube audience, our Twitter audience, and our Facebook audience. A good morning to all of you. And today I've got a lot of interesting stories for you. So I've been live with our TikTok audience for the past 10 minutes now. And I'm going to be continuing with all of you guys at home. Today I've got a number of stories that I need to give you. And I want to start with a very important story which has came out of the Standard newspaper. And the story is that Grace Mugabe and Mnangagwa have started fighting again. So there's a big fight between Grace Mugabe and Mnangagwa. And this has resulted in Mnangagwa taking over a lot of properties that belong to Grace Mugabe and family members of Mugabe. So I'm going to go through the list of the properties that have been taken over. And today I'm going to have a short broadcast. Then I'll come back later in the afternoon. You'll be able to catch me on TikTok around midday when I give you an update on what is in the main newspapers in Zimbabwe. So let's start with Auxillia Mnangagwa. Auxillia Mnangagwa has taken over a farm called Protea Farm, which is owned by Grace Mugabe's niece, Florence Zinyemba. She is going to put the Angel of Hope Foundation on that farm. So she's taken it over. Tariro Mnangagwa has taken over Audley End farm from Kevin Mugabe. Kazembe Kazembe has taken over Mazoe Citrus farm, which houses Grace Mugabe's orphanage. And he's going to be building a mall on that piece of land. Ziambi has taken over Sabina Mugabe's farm in Mashonaland West. Angeline Tongogara, the wife of the late Tongogara, has taken over Bona Mugabe's farm. She has also taken over equipment from the farm. Monica Mavunga, who is the Minister of Defense and Minister of War of Veterans, has taken over Rosemary Chidakwa's farm in Glendale. And you know that Rosemary Chidakwa is Grace Mugabe's sister. So what has happened here is that a huge number of properties that belongs to the Grace Mugabe and her family, close family members, has been taken over by the Mnangagwa family. And the Mnangagwa family and the Grace Mugabe family are fighting each other. This is now open fighting between the two groups. And obviously the relationship between Mnangagwa and the Mugabe family is not going so well. However, I think this is also a problem for Mnangagwa because it means once he gets out of office, other people are also going to be taking over his properties. Another thing that I want to remark here is that these guys seem to have a huge number of properties, of farms, valuable land, which they took from former white farmers. And this shows that the wealth that they've got is mostly from these farming activities. They do not really have other businesses except the farms that they took from the white farmers. And I think that's basically the reason why Zimbabwe is not doing so well. I now want to quickly run into other news. I don't want to stay for long here. I think this is going to be one of my shortest broadcasts here. And let's jump to South Africa. And in South Africa, I want to jump to the story of a Zimbabwean, a prominent Zimbabwean in South Africa. So let me display his picture for you because I didn't have the picture of this Zimbabwean guy. He is very prominent and I want you to see him. So let's display the picture here very quickly. Just allow me to upload the picture as I talk. So on the screen, I'm displaying here Robert Madzonga. So Robert Madzonga is a former MTN executive and a former VBS executive. Robert Madzonga is in the news today in the Sunday World newspaper. He is a pastor at Prophetic Healing and Deliverance, and he's a former executive at these big companies in South Africa. So a founder of a funeral parlor in South Africa called, let's look at the name here, Mugabe. So Matthews Mugabe has said that he was forced to transfer 4 million rands cash into the Capitec bank account of Madzonga's niece's Capitec bank account after they met at a golf course. And this money was supposed to be part of repayment of a loan that he had taken from a bank called VBS, where Robert Madzonga was an executive. Madzonga told him that he had paid back 10 million on his behalf, and he wanted Matthews Mugabe to pay back the money. So Mugabe paid the 10 million within 2 weeks. He said he completed paying the 10 million within 2 weeks. But to his surprise, VBS bank liquidators then came back to him and said they wanted him to repay the loan because the loan had not been repaid. He told him that he had already paid the money to Robert Mazonga, and they said they did not have a record of the money, and so he had to repay the money again. So Matthews Mugabe said he has paid back 23 million rands for this loan of 10 million. So instead of just paying an amount of which he had originally borrowed of 10 million with interest, he ended up paying back 23 million. That is what he said here, Matthews Mugabe. And Matthews Mugabe is the founder of a big funeral parlor here in South Africa. If you didn't know about Robert Mazonga is a Zimbabwean. He was an executive at MTN. He then left over there and went to VBS Bank, where there was a big scandal. And after that, when he was relieved of his duties, the bank at VBS went into liquidation. Then this is where all these scandals are breaking out, and he's been implicated in a lot. He's now a pastor. He's running a church in South Africa, Robert Mazonga, a prominent church. And I don't know if that is the same church, Magaya, the Prophetic Healing and Deliverance Church, because I saw his is written Deliverance and Healing Church, which is somewhere based in Johannesburg. So this is a developing story, and we want to know what is going to happen to Robert Mazonga here. Robert Mazonga, a very prominent person in South Africa, and well known for this scandal of VBS Bank. Then I want to go to another interesting story. And this is South African, former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, and his daughter, Duduzile. They have formed the MK party. And Jacob Zuma and the MK party have withdrawn the case against the IEC of South Africa, where they were claiming that the IEC of South Africa has rigged the elections, has changed numbers, and there are more than 9.3 million votes that were missing. So they withdrew this case from the electoral court, and they did not pay costs. So the IEC is saying if Jacob Zuma is going to withdraw this case, he must pay costs for wasted time and for wasted costs, what they call wasted costs. But they haven't paid this money, and the IEC is demanding that this case continue so that the issues that were raised by the MK party can be ventilated in court, so that people in South Africa or South Africans can actually know that there was no theft of the election. So this is a very interesting case, but the MK party is insisting that they are going to continue with the case. They just temporarily withdrew the court case. So as far as the South African election is concerned, there is currently no court case right now in South Africa regarding the electoral case or the IEC case or the MK party case. So it's very important to know that whatever was being alleged by the MK party has sort of fallen away, and there's no challenge on the South African election. Then in another interesting case, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has received a phone call from United States President Joe Biden. And as you know, there's been a problem between South Africa and the United States because of the relationships between South Africa and the BRICS countries. So there's been a lot of conflict, and America or the United States were threatening to cancel the deal, what is called AGOA. And this is a beginning of a thawing of relationship as far as the South Africans are concerned. The new Minister of International Relationships here and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola. And for my TikTok audience, I'm sharing this picture. Ronald Lamola has said, earlier today, I received a courteous call from Secretary Blinken, who welcomed me. We both reaffirmed our commitment to expanding bilateral relations between our nations as well as global peace and security. So as far as I'm concerned, what this means is that the South Africans want to have a good relationship with the Americans, and the Americans are giving them a call, they're talking to them, and let's see what happens. This is good for the South African rand. The South African rand is getting very, very strong since the election, and I hope that this continues. It will be good for all of us if South African economy is doing well. So this is good, and I think the relationship between America and South Africa should be encouraged. Then I want to go to my last story for today. There has been a diaspora conference of ZANU-PF members, so a Matabeleland South diaspora conference, which was held by ZANU-PF in Matabeleland South. And this is an encouragement for ZANU-PF members who are in the diaspora to invest in Zimbabwe. And I'm sharing a picture for the guys who are on TikTok. I'm sharing a picture. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about here on Gambakwe. I'm going to upload this picture of the ZANU-PF guys. I looked at what they were talking about, but there's nothing to offer. So ZANU-PF is trying to attract members of the diaspora through some conferences, Matabeleland South, but there's nothing to offer. The problem with Zimbabwe is that there are no, there's no currency. The problem in Zimbabwe is the currency. If you invest in Zimbabwe, you're going to lose your money. So if you're in the diaspora, why would you put your money in Zimbabwe where the economy is in shambles, where the policies are inconsistent, where there are human rights violations, and where if you put your money, you won't be able to get it back? That is the problem that we have in Zimbabwe, and that is why diaspora does not invest in Zimbabwe. Diaspora is also not allowed to vote in Zimbabwe, so we've got massive problems over there in Zimbabwe. So I want to recap, and I want to recap very, very quickly. Let's start with what I've said. And what I started with here is that the Mnangagwa family, through a number of people, have taken over multiple properties from Grace Mugabe's family. And I've given you a list here. This story is appearing in the Standard newspaper of Zimbabwe. And this includes people like Auxillia Mnangagwa, Tariro Mnangagwa, Kazembe Kazembe, Ziambi, Monica Mavunga. These people have taken over properties from Grace Mugabe. So the relationship between Grace Mugabe and the Mnangagwa family is worsening. There's nothing that is improving. And this is going to continue. There's going to be a massive problem. And when Mnangagwa gets out of office, I'm sure the revenge is going to start, and the family of Mnangagwa is also going to start losing their properties. You already saw that Mnangagwa said he's going to step down. And I believe that people are already counting to say, where is Mnangagwa's property so that we can take it back? So these ZANU-PF guys are going to fight each other continuously, and this is going to be happening as we look. Then I want to look at the comments very quickly. Good morning, Gambakwe. Mkoma Clayton, thank you very much. Morning, Gambakwe. And I want to thank all of you here for all your support. And let's look at Ellison. I pray that the poor carpenter will not blame his tools. Thieves still stealing from thieves. Yes, that's correct. And then Koma Bryce Pam, he says, morning, Gambakwe, Murukuti Gonera, Zambia protest Pambernayo. Yes, we're going to be in Zambia. And as I said, unfortunately, the changes came so suddenly. So let's see what happens with my travel arrangements. I'm definitely going to be Zambia, but I don't want to be late for the conference. I do not want to be late for the actual protest, because I'm not the only person going, but we need to make sure that I'm there when the protest begins and I'm there when the protest ends. So I'm going to be updating you here on a daily basis. I'll be back here today. Please join me on TikTok around midday. We're going to be giving you an update on all the news on the Sunday newspapers during the day. Most of them have not published, so we don't have the news from the Sunday newspapers. I'm going to give you that news around midday on TikTok. So we're going to be doing a lot of broadcasts on TikTok for the female audience. We've got a lot of female audience on TikTok, and I want them to understand and appreciate Gambakwe. We're going to become very, very big in all these newspapers, in all these platforms. But I particularly like TikTok because our female audience is over there. Our biggest challenge over the years has been that out of the 50,000 people who watch Gambakwe, about 80% are guys. So it's been very difficult for us to grow the female audience. But what I've seen is that with the coming up of our TikTok platform, our female audience on TikTok is the other way. It's 80%. So I think these two platforms, the normal traditional platforms and TikTok, they complement each other. And this is something I like. And for the first time to be live on Gambakwe, that is Mkoma Lloyd. Thank you very much. And I'll be giving you updates again later on today. So please do not worry. What I've given you now is all we have for today. And I'll be back later on today to give you more updates. And obviously, we are moving to the 24-hour format. Very soon, you'll see we'll be working on 24-hour format. Zimbabwe has got a lot of potential, and a lot of people are interested to know what is happening. And also, when we open our head office in Harare, my plan is that I want us to have a facility where people can come in, especially you guys who follow us here. I want you guys to follow us and come and actually meet us and have a place where you can chill and work. And so this is going to be a big, big project that we're going to be working on. And I've been talking about it for a very long time. So thank you very much for the engagement. I'd like to thank you guys from TikTok. I'm going to stay with you while I wrap up. The guys who are on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, I'm going to have to leave you. So if you want to continue with me, you come to TikTok, you look for Gambakwe Media, and you see me as we wrap up. Because what we do is, as I'm sharing and finishing and finalizing, I'll be staying with our TikTok audience. So for the guys who are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again later tonight as we talk about the SADC